As I'm sure many of you have heard by now, there is this big story going on right now surrounding a YouTuber going by the name of Shirrako getting his channel suspended. The reason behind this was a string of controversial Red Dead Redemption 2 videos that he uploaded showcasing gameplay clips of attacking and killing one particular NPC, a suffragette fighting for women's right to vote, which is of course a historical reference. News first began to spread with a tweet by Shirrako himself, which reads as follows: "YouTube closed my channel because I killed a female NPC in Red Dead Redemption 2. They said it promoted violence. You spent the entire game murdering men and no one cares, but punch a woman and you get banned? Are you out of your mind?" As proof that this channel was indeed deleted for videos YouTube believed promoted violence, Shirrako publicly posted the emails he got leading up to his channel's termination. The first image here seems to be a message warning Shirrako of his first violation, and it reads as follows: "Hi Shirrako, as you may know, our community guidelines describe which content we allow and what we don't allow on YouTube. Your video Red Dead Redemption 2 Annoying Feminist Fed to Alligator was flagged for review. Upon review, we have determined that it violates our guidelines. We have removed it from YouTube and assigned a community guideline strike or temporary penalty on your account. If a video contains violent or graphic content that appears to be posted in a shocking, sensational, or disrespectful manner, it is less likely to be allowed on YouTube. We also don't allow content that's intended to incite violence or encourage dangerous activities. We review content on a case-by-case basis and will only make limited exceptions for appropriate educational, documentary, artistic, and scientific contexts where the purpose of posting is clear. In light of this, we ask that uploaders post as much information as possible in the title and description of their video to help us and viewers understand the primary purpose of the video. Please note, even with this additional context, it's still not acceptable to post violent or gory content that's primarily intended to be shocking, sensational, or disrespectful, and this type of content is prohibited on YouTube. This is the first strike applied to your account. We understand that users seldom intend to violate our policies. That's why strikes don't last forever. This strike will expire in 3 months. However, it is important to remember that additional strikes could prevent you from posting content to YouTube or even lead to your account being terminated." The next image that was posted was of the message informing Shirrako that his channel had been suspended, and that reads as follows: "We'd like to inform you that due to repeated or severe violations of our community guidelines, your YouTube account Shirrako has been suspended. After review, we have determined that activity in your account violated our community guidelines, which state that the promotion or display of gratuitous violence is not acceptable on our site. Please be aware that you're prohibited from accessing, possessing, or creating any other YouTube accounts." Okay, so first things first, I'd like to provide some additional context as to what led to all of this, as it's not as simple as Shirrako being shut down for simply showing violent gameplay. Shirrako implies that he was banned for merely punching a woman in a game where murder is commonplace, but that's definitely something of an understatement in regards to what about his videos ultimately caught YouTube's attention. Just taking one look at the titles he chose for his last few videos will paint a pretty clear picture. The first Red Dead Redemption 2 video he posted was called Red Dead Redemption 2 Beating Up Annoying Feminist, and that's the one where, as Shirrako said, he simply walked up to the suffragette NPC and punched her in the face. That video happened to gain a lot of traction, garnering over 1.6 million views before the channel was suspended, and not all of that traction was positive. On one side of the fence, people saw this as a funny joke gameplay video, while on the other side, people saw the way this video was solely dedicated to a violent act upon a suffragette character fighting for women's rights to vote as being in poor taste. The uploads didn't just stop there though. With each subsequent upload, the titles and content definitely became bolder, with stuff like Red Dead Redemption 2 Lasso Train and Annoying Feminist, Red Dead Redemption 2 Dropping Feminists to Hell and Killing the Devil, Red Dead Redemption 2 Annoying Feminist Fed to Pigs, and Red Dead Redemption 2 Annoying Feminist Fed to Alligator. Each of these videos focused on showing pretty much exactly what the title stated, and much like Shirrako's initial videos, some people thought they were funny while others found them to be in poor taste. Now, regardless of what you think of his content, the question here isn't whether you were amused by his latest uploads or perturbed by them. The question is whether YouTube was justified in shutting down the channel entirely. Did his Red Dead Redemption 2 videos incite violence or encourage dangerous activities? To that, I will have to say no. I cannot say Shirrako wasn't asking for some repercussions with titles like those, whether it be age restriction or demonetization or just general backlash, and I get that all platforms need to establish certain guidelines and draw certain lines, but a ban without warning in this case was one step too far. I totally get why some people might find the titles and the content to be in poor taste, but at no point did Shirrako directly suggest that people should rile up and attack feminists or anyone. While these videos are bound to have adverse effects like instigating some nasty comments and toxic behavior among certain crowds, that's just the unfortunate reality of internet culture, and it's a part of any video covering controversial topics or showing controversial imagery. But just because something is controversial or not to everyone's taste doesn't mean that YouTube should be setting a dangerous precedent for content creators by shutting down channels so abruptly, especially when there's very clear preferential treatment going on with this platform. It would be one thing if YouTube was very clear about their guidelines and consistent with their deliberations on what constitutes a violation, but we have seen how the likes of Logan Paul, who uploaded a sensationalized video of a dead man in Japan's suicide forest, got a slap on the wrist compared to how YouTube moved on Shirrako for uploading violent imagery taking place in a virtual world. Not once did YouTube threaten to shut down Logan Paul, despite the gravity of what he did, while in Shirrako's case, their immediate knee-jerk reaction was to suspend his account. Granted, Shirrako's channel was suspended because he uploaded so many similar types of videos which were all flagged in quick succession, with 3 strikes resulting in channel termination. But then I look at how the likes of Logan Paul still has videos up in which he practically insults entire cultures or in which he shows controversial imagery taking place in the real world, and how all of that goes unchecked. And it's hard for me to ignore the blatant double standard going on here, a problem that's plagued YouTube for many years now. The rules just don't apply to YouTube's marquee channels and the major corporations like they do to the rest of us. It's also disturbing to see how YouTube sways so easily to the whims of mainstream media outlets. It's worth noting that Shirrako's first series of Red Dead Redemption 2 videos was uploaded as far back as October 28, 2018, and they were left completely unperturbed up until news outlet Motherboard published their article on November 5th, highlighting how Red Dead Redemption 2 players are excited to attack and kill feminists in the game, and how they're making the worst of Rockstar Games' portrayal of women fighting for their right to vote. From there, plenty of other media outlets began to pick up on this story and express their disdain towards these kinds of videos. And it was only shortly after all that YouTube suddenly decided that Shirrako's content was cause for channel suspension. Something similar happened with PewDiePie, who had uploaded a video in which he made a Nazi joke that was taken completely out of context by mainstream media outlets who claimed he engaged in misogynistic activities, and YouTube's knee-jerk reaction was basically to cut ties with him and fuel a false narrative rather than to properly investigate the claims and accusations. But for someone like Logan Paul, well, he has gotten away with much worse with far less severe penalties simply because he's Logan Paul. Look, if you find aspects of Shirrako's content to be distasteful or crude, that is certainly well within your prerogative, and that's a perfectly valid stance to have. But when YouTube starts basing decisions as sensitive as terminating someone's channel based on where mainstream media sways, rather than through their own proper investigation and consistent deliberation on guideline violations, that's when stuff like this gets really murky. Now, to YouTube's credit, they have already gone out of their way to rectify this situation. Shortly after YouTube deleted Shirrako's channel, you could definitely feel like there was an uprising brewing on social media and on the platform. But a few hours later, Shirrako reported on Twitter that his channel was being reinstated, with the caveat that his recent videos would be age-restricted, which Shirrako expressed was fine, and which I also think is pretty fair. This sudden reversal can in large part be attributed to Ryan Wyatt, global head of gaming at YouTube, who was quick to respond to the brewing controversy. Responding to Shirrako's tweets, he said, quote, "Thanks for flagging this with me. The videos were reviewed and we determined they should be age-restricted restricted as they were not community guideline violations. Your channel will be reinstated. All 8,000 videos will be rolled back to the channel. Then, responding to Keemstar's take on the issue, Wyatt further elaborated with, quote, Keem, thanks for your input. This was flagged this AM to me. The videos were re-reviewed and we determined they should be age-restricted as they were not community guideline violations. The channel will be reinstated. All 8,000 videos will be rolled back to his channel. It's definitely good to see that in the end, YouTube made what I think is the right decision. You don't have to be a fan of Shirrako's content or find it in good taste, but that's a whole different topic from whether YouTube was justified in suspending his channel outright without warning, a move that could set a dangerous precedent for everyone involved on the platform. In the end, the situation has fortunately been resolved, but this all still raises concerns about YouTube's unreliable algorithms, the compulsive people in charge of reviewing and flagging videos and channels, and the double standards in how different content creators are confined to different standards based on their stature. I mean, I guess that's just society as a whole. The higher up you are in the pyramid, the more you can get away with. But when stuff like this happens, it is still important to speak out against it so that unfounded deliberations do not become the norm and negatively affect the platform in the long term, so that the issue of YouTube's unclear guidelines and preferential treatment can be further highlighted as a pervasive major issue. As someone who makes a living on YouTube, it is pivotal to me that the platform's integrity is maintained, and that's ultimately the perspective from which I'm approaching this situation. With all that said, everyone please be nice and decent from one human being to another, regardless of which side of the fence you stand. If you don't mind Shirrako's videos, I hope you'll understand that there may be those who won't find that stuff in good taste. If you find Shirrako's videos distasteful, I hope you'll understand that people aren't monsters just because they might find the crude gameplay video entertaining. This is just that after all, it's gameplay, it's a virtual world, it's not real life. Obviously, context matters, the message of a video matters, but I think it's too far to say that this is actively inciting violence. As for the sensitive issue that is feminism, like with any faction, there are good ones and there are bad ones. For every Anita Sarkeesian or Jessica Price who take feminism to the extreme and exploit it as a platform to instigate hatred or toxicity for their own gains, there are plenty of others out there who are perfectly reasonable and doing a lot of good for society and for the pursuit of equality and fair treatment among all human beings. Similarly, there are perfectly reasonable people who will lean one way or another when it comes to what they think of Shirrako's content, and there are also really extreme people on either side who contribute nothing constructive to the discussion. Anyway, these are one man's perspective on all of this. I'd love to hear what your take is on YouTube's suspension and reinstatement of Shirrako's channel in the comments below. With that, I would like to end this news update. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoy my content and would like to support this channel directly, consider donating on Patreon. And to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.